Chapter 26. The morning after morning sunlight slipped through the tall windows of Blackcrest headquarters for the first time. Marcus arrived without the familiar weight that usually rested on his shoulders. He had slept not because the city had suddenly become peaceful, but because, for the first time in years, he knew someone was waiting to see him in the morning the elevator doors opened. Morning, boss. Morning. Marcus stepped onto the executive floor, only a few seconds later. Another elevator chimed. Cole walked out carrying a paper bag and 2 cups of coffee the moment their eyes met. Both of them smiled instinctively. Neither noticed, everyone else did. The receptionist quietly leaned toward Adrian. There it is. What? The smile. It happens automatically now. Adrian chuckled, noticed, walked straight toward Marcus. I brought breakfast. Marcus accepted one of the cups. You didn't have to, I know. Cole laughed, but I wanted to. Marcus looked at the pastry inside the bag. Blueberry again. You've become predictable. Marcus raised an eyebrow. I have. You always choose blueberry. You always pretend you're not hungry. Marcus gave a quiet laugh. Been discovered. Before either of them could continue, a loud dramatic sigh echoed across the office. Watson, he stood with his arms crossed. Officially been replaced. Cole blinked. Dad, 22 years, I brought you breakfast. Now, you bring breakfast to my boss. Cole burst into laughter. Marcus calmly replied, you're welcome to join us. Watson pointed accusingly. Don't think kindness will distract me. Almost worked. Receptionist couldn't hold back anymore. She laughed so hard she nearly dropped her notebook. Lunch was somehow even worse. Cole sat beside Marcus as usual without thinking. He stole a dumpling from Marcus's plate. Marcus simply ordered another serving. Watson stared in disbelief. He stole your food. You're rewarding him. Marcus looked completely serious. He seemed hungry. Watson slowly looked toward the ceiling. My own son has found someone even easier to bully than me. Cole grinned proudly. Got talent. The entire office had quietly become spectators. The accountant whispered, they don't even realize how obvious they are. Intern nodded. Never seen boss this relaxed. Even Adrian admitted, I haven't either. Later that afternoon, Marcus and Cole left headquarters to inspect one of Blackcrest's medical clinics. Snow had begun falling again. The streets looked almost peaceful as they walked through the clinic. Doctors greeted Marcus respectfully. Children waved at Cole. One little girl ran over holding a crayon drawing. Mr. Cole, I made this. Cole knelt to her height. It's beautiful. Drawing showed 3 stick figures, one very tall, one shorter, one tiny. Who's this? Cole asked. The little girl pointed confidently. That's you. She pointed at the taller figure. That's Mr. Marcus. Then she pointed at the tiny figure between them. And that's your future baby. The hallway became completely silent. Cole nearly dropped the drawing. Marcus cleared his throat. The nurse quickly hurried over, completely embarrassed. So sorry. Has a very active imagination. The little girl frowned. I was just guessing. Marcus gently accepted the drawing. It's a very nice picture. She beamed. Can you keep it? Marcus nodded. Be honored. They left the clinic. Cole covered his bright red face. I am never recovering from that. Marcus looked down at the folded drawing in his hand. I think it's thoughtful. Cole stared at him. You actually kept it. Marcus answered quietly. She gave it to us. Cole's heart skipped a beat. Such a small word, yet hearing Marcus say it felt strangely comforting. That evening, back at headquarters, Marcus placed the drawing inside the top drawer of his desk instead of throwing it away. Adrian happened to notice. Keeping souvenirs now. Marcus closed the drawer. Some things shouldn't be discarded. Adrian smiled knowingly. I see. Across the city, Benston stood inside a dimly lit conference room. Photographs of Marcus and Cole covered an entire wall. A subordinate entered. We've confirmed it. Benston didn't turn around. Relationship? Yes, they're officially together. A slow smile spread across Benston's face. Excellent. He removed Marcus's photograph from the wall, then placed Cole's photograph directly beside it. So, the city's strongest alpha has finally given me something to take away. He switched off the lights and walked toward the door. Begin phase 1. Outside, snow continued to fall peacefully over Asterra, and neither Marcus nor Cole realized that while they had finally found happiness together, someone else had already begun planning how to destroy it. Chapter 27. Rumors. The news traveled through Asterra far faster than either Marcus or Cole expected, not because they had announced their relationship, but because, people noticed, the feared boss of Blackcrest smiled now. He took proper lunch breaks. He left headquarters before midnight, and whenever Cole walked into a room, Marcus's attention instinctively shifted toward him. In the criminal underworld, nothing stayed secret for long. Monday morning, the executive floor buzzed with quiet whispers. The receptionist leaned toward the accountant. Long do you think they'll pretend we don't know? The accountant adjusted his glasses. About 3 more days. Adrian walked past carrying a folder. They know that we know. Receptionist blinked. Then why hasn't anyone said anything? Adrian smiled. Enjoying watching all of you suffer from curiosity. At that exact moment, the elevator doors opened. Marcus stepped out. Cole followed a second later. Their shoulders brushed accidentally. Both smiled. The receptionist dramatically covered her face. I can't do this anymore. Cole looked confused. Did I miss something? No, everything is perfectly normal. Absolutely isn't. Around noon, Marcus was reviewing shipment reports when someone knocked. Come in. Watson entered. He closed the door behind him. For once, he wasn't joking. I want to ask you something. Marcus looked up. Go ahead. Watson remained silent for several moments. Then he spoke. Do you love my son? Marcus didn't hesitate. Yes. Answer was immediate, certain, without the slightest doubt. Watson watched him carefully. And this isn't temporary. No, you understand what you're promising. I do. Marcus stood from his chair, protected this organization for years, made difficult decisions, carried responsibilities that never truly belonged to one person. He met Watson's eyes, but loving Cole is the easiest decision I've ever made. Room fell silent. Watson slowly smiled. I thought that would be your answer. Marcus looked surprised. You aren't angry. Watson laughed softly. Known my son his whole life. Never seen him this happy. He walked toward the door before stopping. If you ever make him cry. Marcus answered before Watson could finish. Regret it before you make me. Watson chuckled. Good answer. Meanwhile, Cole was helping organize donations at one of Blackcrest's community kitchens. An elderly volunteer smiled warmly. Been glowing lately. Cole blinked, glowing. You look like someone who's in love. Cole laughed, rubbing the back of his neck. Is it really that obvious? The volunteer nodded. When someone carries happiness in their heart, it shows on their face. Cole looked down with a shy smile. Maybe. It really was obvious that evening. Marcus and Cole left headquarters together. The streets shimmered after a light rain. Instead of getting into the car immediately, they decided to walk a short distance. It's quieter than usual, Cole said. Marcus glanced around, too quiet. Years of instinct made him notice details others overlooked. A parked sedan with dark windows, a man pretending to read a newspaper, another speaking into an earpiece. Marcus's expression subtly hardened without drawing attention. He moved half a step closer to Cole. What? Cole asked quietly. Stay beside me. Smile disappeared from Cole's face. You noticed something? Marcus gave a small nod. Probably nothing. But he didn't believe his own words. Across the street, one of the observers lowered a camera. Target is cautious. A voice crackled through the radio. Don't engage. Only wants information. Man slipped into the crowd before anyone noticed. Later that night, Benston examined the newest surveillance photographs. Marcus and Cole laughing outside headquarters, walking side by side, sharing coffee. One picture caught his attention. Marcus had unconsciously positioned himself between Cole and the road. Benston smiled. Interesting. Protects him without thinking. Place the photograph on the table. Increase surveillance. No attacks. Yet his lieutenant frowned. Why wait? Benston's smile grew colder. Because breaking someone's body is simple. He tapped the photograph of Marcus. I want to break his heart first. Outside, the city slept peacefully, unaware that while Marcus and Cole's love continued to grow stronger, the shadows around them were quietly closing. In chapter 28, the shadow behind the smile, winter continued to blanket Asterra in white. To everyone else, life seemed peaceful. Blackcrest's businesses were thriving. The streets under Marcus's protection remained calm. Even rival organizations had become unusually quiet. Marcus knew better. Silence often came before a storm. Early Monday morning, Marcus stood in the strategy room studying a large map of the city. Several districts had been marked with small red pins. Adrian entered carrying a report. Informants have confirmed it. Marcus looked up. Benston's men have been seen in 3 different districts. They aren't attacking. They're watching. Marcus narrowed his eyes. Watching what? Adrian placed several surveillance photographs on the table. Blackcrest warehouses, supply routes, community clinics. Then, one photograph of Blackcrest headquarters. Marcus's expression hardened. They're gathering information. Adrian nodded, being unusually patient. Marcus quietly folded the photographs. That worries me more than an attack. Meanwhile, Cole was completely unaware of the tension. He walked through the executive floor carrying a tray filled with freshly baked muffins. I experimented again. Receptionist accepted one carefully. Should I be scared? Cole laughed. Promise they're edible. She took one bite. Her eyes widened. These are amazing. Count nodded. I'd actually pay for these. Cole grinned proudly. You hear that? Looked up from his paperwork. I do. Cole placed the last muffin in front of him for quality inspection. Marcus tasted it after a thoughtful moment. Excellent. Cole dramatically placed both hands on his hips. Finally, cooking has earned boss approval. The entire office applauded. Marcus quietly shook his head, unable to hide his smile. Later that afternoon, Marcus and Cole left headquarters together to inspect one of Blackcrest's logistics centers. Snowflakes drifted through the air as their car crossed the river into the industrial district. Cole looked out the window. It's peaceful. Marcus didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked into the side mirror. The same dark SUV had appeared behind them 15 minutes earlier. It maintained a careful distance, never overtaking, never falling back. Marcus spoke calmly. Driver. Route 9. Yes, boss. Car turned sharply. A few seconds later, the SUV turned as well. Marcus's eyes became colder. They're following us. Cole looked back instinctively. What should we do? Marcus's voice remained steady. Nothing. They're waiting for us to react, so we won't. For the next 20 minutes, the SUV continued following them until 3 Blackcrest security vehicles quietly appeared from nearby streets. The SUV immediately changed direction and disappeared into traffic. Cole let out the breath he had been holding. They really were watching us. Marcus nodded. Yes, they wanted to know our routine. Cole's smile faded. This is because of me, isn't it? Marcus turned toward him. No, this is because Benston is preparing something. Cole wasn't convinced, but he didn't argue that evening. Watson noticed Marcus standing alone on the rooftop terrace. You look troubled. Marcus kept his eyes on the city. Benston is moving. Not openly. Watson sighed. Dealt with men like him before. They smile while planning a funeral. Marcus nodded. I can protect warehouses. I can protect businesses. He paused. But what worries me most is protecting one person. Watson followed his gaze toward the glowing city below. Cole, Marcus didn't deny it. Watson rested a reassuring hand on his shoulder. You won't have to do it alone. Marcus gave a small nod. I know. Across the city, Benston stood inside an abandoned theater. Rows of empty seats stretched into darkness. One of his lieutenants approached. Surveillance teams have mapped Marcus's movements. Benston accepted the report. Cole, he follows a predictable schedule. Benston smiled faintly. Yet, his lieutenant looked confused. We're not taking him. Benston closed the folder. No, if I strike now, Marcus will expect another attack. He slowly walked toward the stage. I want him comfortable. I want him believing he's won. Only then, he looked back with a cold smile. When people finally lower their guard, that's when everything they love becomes easiest to steal. Far away, Marcus looked out over Asterra. For reasons he couldn't explain, he couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was approaching, and this time, his instincts had never been more certain. Chapter 29. Uninvited guests. 3 days passed after Marcus discovered they were being followed. Blackcrest headquarters remained calm on the surface. Employees laughed, meetings continued, business flourished, but beneath that calm, security had quietly doubled. Marcus personally reviewed every report that reached his desk. He trusted his instincts. Benston was waiting, and that made him more dangerous than ever. Cole leaned against Marcus's office door. Thinking too much again, Marcus looked up from a stack of reports. I usually am. Cole walked inside carrying 2 bowls of noodles. Which is exactly why I brought lunch. Marcus smiled faintly. Made this a habit. You aren't complaining. I don't intend to. Cole placed the bowls on the coffee table. Good, I'm not stopping. Halfway through lunch, Cole stole another slice of Marcus's grilled chicken. Marcus calmly picked up another piece from his own plate and placed it onto Cole's. Cole blinked. You know I was teasing you, right? I know. So why are you giving me more? Marcus answered without looking up. You were about to steal another piece anyway. Cole laughed so hard he nearly spilled his drink. You know me too well. Outside the office, the receptionist whispered, I've never seen boss willingly give away food. Accountant nodded. It's true love. Adrian cleared his throat. I didn't hear that. You absolutely did. Yes, I did. That afternoon, the receptionist answered a call from the lobby. A few moments later, she frowned, then pressed the intercom. Boss, there's a visitor asking specifically for you. Marcus looked up. I don't have any appointments, he says. He represents the Orion Syndicate. Executive floor immediately fell silent. Even Watson looked up from his paperwork. The Orion Syndicate, one of the oldest neutral organizations in Asterra. They almost never involved themselves in disputes. Marcus stood. Bring him up. A tall alpha in a charcoal gray coat stepped out of the elevator. His silver hair was neatly combed back. His smile was polite, but his sharp eyes missed nothing. Mr. Black. Marcus offered a respectful nod. Mr. Rowan. Cole quietly observed from nearby. So this is Cole Watson. Rowan smiled warmly. Heard quite a lot about you. Cole blinked. Good things. I hope, mostly. Old Alpha chuckled. Marcus almost smiled. They moved into the conference room. Rowan placed a sealed envelope on the table. Keep this brief. Marcus opened it. Inside were several surveillance photographs. Blackcrest headquarters. Marcus, Watson, and Cole. Marcus's expression immediately hardened. Where did these come from? Rowan folded his hands. My organization intercepted them 2 nights ago. Men carrying. Chapter 29. Uninvited guests. 3 days passed after Marcus discovered they were being followed. Blackcrest headquarters remained calm on the surface. Employees laughed, meetings continued, business flourished, but beneath that calm, security had quietly doubled. Marcus personally reviewed every report that reached his desk. He trusted his instincts. Benston was waiting, and that made him more dangerous than ever. Cole leaned against Marcus's office door. Thinking too much again, Marcus looked up from a stack of reports. I usually am. Cole walked inside carrying 2 bowls of noodles. Which is exactly why I brought lunch. Marcus smiled faintly. Made this a habit. You aren't complaining. I don't intend to. Cole placed the bowls on the coffee table. Good, I'm not stopping. Halfway through lunch, Cole stole another slice of Marcus's grilled chicken. Marcus calmly picked up another piece from his own plate and placed it onto Cole's. Cole blinked. You know I was teasing you, right? I know. So why are you giving me more? Marcus answered without looking up. You were about to steal another piece anyway. Cole laughed so hard he nearly spilled his drink. You know me too well. Outside the office, the receptionist whispered, I've never seen boss willingly give away food. Accountant nodded. It's true love. Adrian cleared his throat. I didn't hear that. You absolutely did. Yes, I did. That afternoon, the receptionist answered a call from the lobby. A few moments later, she frowned, then pressed the intercom. Boss, there's a visitor asking specifically for you. Marcus looked up. I don't have any appointments, he says. He represents the Orion Syndicate. Executive floor immediately fell silent. Even Watson looked up from his paperwork. The Orion Syndicate, one of the oldest neutral organizations in Asterra. They almost never involved themselves in disputes. Marcus stood. Bring him up. A tall alpha in a charcoal gray coat stepped out of the elevator. His silver hair was neatly combed back. His smile was polite, but his sharp eyes missed nothing. Mr. Black. Marcus offered a respectful nod. Mr. Rowan. Cole quietly observed from nearby. So this is Cole Watson. Rowan smiled warmly. Heard quite a lot about you. Cole blinked. Good things, I hope, mostly. Old Alpha chuckled. Marcus almost smiled. They moved into the conference room. Rowan placed a sealed envelope on the table. Keep this brief. Marcus opened it. Inside were several surveillance photographs. Blackcrest headquarters. Marcus, Watson, and Cole. Marcus's expression immediately hardened. Where did these come from? Rowan folded his hands. My organization intercepted them 2 nights ago. Men carrying them belonged to one of Benston's intelligence units. The room became deathly quiet. Cole looked at the photographs. Some had clearly been taken from rooftops. Others from crowded streets. One showed him laughing outside a bakery, another showed Marcus holding an umbrella over him. Someone had been watching them for weeks. Marcus slowly closed the envelope. What do you want in return? Rowan smiled. Nothing. Respected your father. I dislike Benston. He stood. Consider this. Professional courtesy. Marcus extended his hand. You have my thanks. Chapter 30. The warning. The conference room remained silent long after Rowan departed. Marcus carefully spread the surveillance photographs across the table. Each one had been taken from a different location, different times, different days, yet they all shared one thing in common. Marcus studied them one by one, a photo outside a bookstore, another near Blackcrest headquarters, one at the community clinic, another during the charity gala. Whoever had taken them had been patient, very patient. Adrian broke the silence. Boss, Marcus looked up. Building a pattern. Marcus nodded. They know where Cole goes. They know his routine. Watson's expression darkened. So we change it. Marcus answered immediately. Starting today, within an hour, Blackcrest's security protocols changed. Vehicles rotated every day. Routes became unpredictable. Additional guards were assigned to community centers and clinics. Cole frowned when he noticed 2 security officers waiting outside his office. Is this really necessary? Marcus met his gaze. Yes, they're treating me like I'm made of glass. No. Marcus replied calmly. They're treating you like someone important. Cole looked at him for a long moment, then sighed. I still don't like it. I know. That afternoon, Cole insisted on visiting one of Blackcrest's youth centers. Marcus agreed on one condition. I'm coming with you. Cole smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. The youth center was filled with laughter. Children ran through the gymnasium while volunteers prepared art supplies. The moment Cole entered, several children rushed toward him. Mr. Cole, you came back. I promised I would. Marcus watched from nearby. One little boy tugged gently on his sleeve. Marcus looked down. Yes, are you really the scary boss? Cole overheard and laughed. Don't worry. He's only scary before breakfast. Marcus gave him a look. Cole grinned. I'm helping your reputation. I'm not convinced. Children giggled as the afternoon ended. Marcus and Cole stepped outside into the cold evening air. Snowflakes drifted lazily beneath the streetlights. Cole tucked his hands into his coat pockets. Been watching everything today. I have. Still worried. Yes. Cole stopped walking. Marcus turned to face him. You trust your instincts. I do. They're telling you something. Marcus nodded once. I believe Benston is getting closer. Cole was quiet, then he smiled gently. We'll face it together. Marcus's expression softened. Together, across the city, inside a dimly lit warehouse, Benston stood before a large map of Asterra. His lieutenant approached. The new security measures are causing problems. Benston didn't look away from the map. They've changed routes. They've doubled escorts. They've become unpredictable. Benston smiled faintly. Marcus learns quickly. Lieutenant hesitated. Should we move now? Benston shook his head. No. He picked up one of the photographs of Marcus and Cole, expecting an attack. So we won't attack. We'll wait. He placed the photograph back on the table. Patience wins wars. Lieutenant nodded. In Cole, Benston's eyes rested on the photograph for a moment longer. When the time comes, I won't need to chase him. Make him come to me. Outside, the wind carried fresh snow across the sleeping city. For the first time in years, Marcus felt that every peaceful day was becoming more precious because somewhere in the shadows, someone was already planning to take that peace away. Chapter 31. A promise in the snow. A week passed. No attacks, no threats. No mysterious vehicles following Blackcrest employees. On paper, everything looked normal. Marcus trusted reports, but he trusted his instincts even more. The silence felt unnatural. Cole stretched as he walked into Marcus's office. So, Marcus looked up from his paperwork. So, when was the last time you took a day off? Marcus thought for a moment. I don't remember. Exactly. Cole crossed his arms. That's unhealthy. I have responsibilities. They'll still be there tomorrow. Marcus almost smiled. Prepared an argument. I prepared several. Marcus sighed. I'm listening. Hour later, a black SUV quietly left headquarters for once. There were no meetings, no inspections, no negotiations, only Marcus and Cole. Their destination was a quiet lakeside park on the outskirts of Asterra. Fresh snow covered the trees. The frozen lake sparkled beneath the afternoon sun. It's beautiful, Cole whispered. Marcus nodded. It is. They walked along the lakeside path. Families built snowmen nearby. Children laughed as they chased one another through the snow. Cole smiled. You know. I never imagined you'd agree to this. You were persistent. I learned from the best. Marcus looked at him. I wasn't aware I taught persistence. You taught determination. Cole laughed. I simply adapted it. They stopped at a small wooden bridge for several peaceful minutes. Neither of them spoke. Marcus finally broke the silence. Thank you. Cole looked at him. What? For reminding me that life isn't meant to be spent only behind a desk. Cole smiled warmly. Given me a lot too. Marcus tilted his head. I have. You've always made me feel safe. The words were simple, but they settled deeply in Marcus's heart. I'll always try to. A light snowfall began. Tiny flakes drifted gently around them. Cole held out his hand to catch one. When I was little, he said quietly. My mother used to say every snowfall was a chance to make a new promise. Marcus listened. What kind of promise? Any promise. Worth keeping. Cole turned toward him. So, make one. Marcus looked out across the frozen lake, then back at Cole. I promise, matter what happens, never stop protecting the people I love. Cole's eyes softened. No, you will. You. Cole smiled. I promise, matter how difficult things become, Never face them alone again. Marcus gently reached for his hand. You won't. As the sun began to set, neither of them noticed a lone photographer standing on a distant hillside. A camera shutter clicked once, twice, 3 times. Figure lowered the camera and disappeared into the trees that evening. Benston studied the newly delivered photographs, Marcus and Cole laughing by the lake, walking hand in hand across the bridge, standing together as snow fell around them. Benston placed one photograph at the center of the table. Happy. His lieutenant remained silent. Benston smiled coldly. Happiness creates hope. He folded the photograph and slipped it into his coat. And hope is much easier to shatter than fear. Crossed the city. Marcus stood on the balcony outside his office, watching snowflakes drift through the night sky. He couldn't explain why, but he had the feeling that the promise he made that afternoon would soon be tested more than either of them could imagine. Chapter 32. The trap begins. The first sign that something was wrong wasn't a gunshot or an explosion. It was a letter. Early Monday morning, a receptionist entered Marcus's office carrying a plain white envelope. It arrived without a return address. Marcus accepted it. There was no stamp, no fingerprints, only one line written in elegant black ink. The strongest walls always fall from within. Marcus read it twice, then handed it to Adrian. Have it examined. Immediately, Adrian nodded and left. An hour later, the results came back. No fingerprints, DNA, the paper is common. The ink can't be traced. Marcus wasn't surprised. Benston never wasted a move. Every message had a purpose. The question was, what purpose did this one serve? Meanwhile, Cole was completely unaware of the letter. He walked into Marcus's office carrying a notebook. Got good news. Marcus looked up. What is it? The community library we sponsored is finally opening next weekend. Marcus remembered the project. Children had spent months helping paint the building. It deserves a proper opening ceremony. Cole smiled brightly. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Later that afternoon, the executive team gathered in the strategy room. Maps covered the table. Security reports filled several folders. Marcus stood quietly. Strengthen every known weakness. Adrian nodded. Warehouses are secure. Clinics are protected. Supply routes have changed. Watson folded his arms. So what are we missing? Marcus looked at the anonymous letter. Benston wants us looking in one direction. He'll strike somewhere else. The room fell silent. Everyone understood the attack hadn't begun yet. This was only the opening move. As evening approached, Cole finished helping volunteers prepare the new library. The children proudly showed him colorful bookshelves and reading corners. One little girl smiled. Will Mr. Marcus come to the opening too? Cole laughed. Make sure he does. She nodded happily. He smiles more when you're here. Cole felt his cheeks warm. So everyone keeps telling me. Outside the library, a black sedan waited across the street. The driver lowered a pair of binoculars. Cole is leaving, a voice answered through the earpiece. Follow too closely. We're only confirming routines. Car quietly pulled away. That night, Marcus and Cole shared dinner in Marcus's office. The city lights glowed beyond the windows. Cole looked at Marcus. Distracted, Marcus didn't deny it. Been thinking about Benston? Yes. Cole reached across the table and gently placed a hand over Marcus's. We'll get through this. Marcus looked down at their hands, then back at Cole. You always sound certain. Cole smiled. Because I believe in you. Marcus's expression softened. And I believe in us. A moment, the worries faded. The city outside became quiet. The future almost seemed peaceful again, far away. Benston stood inside an abandoned railway station. Several of his most trusted lieutenants surrounded a large blueprint of Blackcrest's operations. One of them asked, when do we move? Benston calmly folded the blueprint. Soon. Not against Marcus. The lieutenant looked confused. Then against whom? Benston placed a photograph of Cole on top of the map. Heart, he smiled. Every fortress has one. Once the heart stops beating, the rest falls on its own. The room fell silent. The trap had already begun. Marcus simply hadn't seen its true shape yet. Chapter 34. The weight of a shadow. The morning light in Marcus's office was filtered through the thick, reinforced glass of the Blackcrest Tower, casting long geometric shadows across the mahogany desk. It was an environment that usually hummed with the cold, calculated energy of a criminal empire, but lately the atmosphere had shifted. It was softer, warmer, and smelled faintly of the artisanal espresso that only Cole managed to smuggle past the outer security detail. Marcus sat at the head of the desk, his attention focused on a digital map of the Asterra shipping docks. His brow was furrowed, not in anger but in the kind of intense concentration that usually preceded a tactical decision. A soft knock interrupted the silence. Before Marcus could even say a word, the door swung open. Come bearing gifts, Cole announced, his voice bright and teasing. He strode into the room, balancing a precarious tower of pastry boxes and 2 steaming cups. He wore an oversized sweater that Marcus had been reasonably sure was his own, though it looked infinitely better on Cole. Marcus's expression softened instantly. The tension in his shoulders vanished, replaced by a subtle habitual relaxation that Adrian, standing near the window, noted with a barely perceptible smirk. Late, Marcus said, though the glint in his eyes betrayed him. He stood up, rounding the desk to relieve Cole of the heavier box. Traffic, Cole lied effortlessly, kicking the door shut behind him. And I had to dodge your security team. They're getting paranoid, Marcus. One of them actually asked to inspect my muffin for contraband. They're doing their jobs, Marcus replied, his voice dropping to that low, steady hum that always made Cole's heart stutter. He guided Cole to the seating area, his hand lingering for a heartbeat longer than necessary on the small of Cole's back. Being grumpy, Cole corrected, sitting on the sofa and patting the cushion next to him. kind of like their boss. Watson stepped into the room just as the comment was made, his eyes narrowing as he took in the sight of the two of them huddled together. He cleared his throat loudly, clutching a stack of files to his chest like a shield. "Mr. Black," Watson said, his tone clipped. "The shipment from the North Sector has been delayed, again, and I believe our time would be better spent discussing the logistics rather than whatever this is." Cole didn't even look up from the donut he was meticulously inspecting. "Good morning to you too, Watson. Want a bite? It's the cream-filled one." Watson looked at the donut, then at Marcus's hand, which was currently resting protectively near Cole's arm on the couch. He made a sound of profound theatrical indignation. "I am on a diet, Cole, and I am a professional. I don't fraternize with the snacks." "He's just mad because I brought the good ones," Cole whispered loudly to Marcus, making Marcus let out a short, rare chuckle. The laughter was cut short, however, by a sharp, rhythmic buzz from Adrian's tablet. The second-in-command walked over, his face unreadable. He placed the device on the table, showing a grainy photograph taken from a rooftop across the street. It depicted Marcus and Cole leaving a restaurant the night before. "Benston," Adrian said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "He's watching. The distance is too precise for a random tourist. He's tracking your patterns, Marcus." The warmth in the room didn't vanish, but it chilled, turning into something sharper. Marcus looked at the photo, his jaw set. He didn't look at Benston's shadow in the photo, he looked at Cole, who was laughing, unaware of the lens aimed at his back. "He wants me to react," Marcus said quietly. "If I pull security back, he thinks I'm vulnerable. If I increase it, I'm confirming that Cole is the target. So what do we do?" Cole asked, his playfulness gone, his voice steady with the same resilience that had drawn Marcus to him in the first place. Marcus reached out, taking Cole's hand in his. His grip was firm, grounding. "We live our lives. We don't give him the satisfaction of a panicked animal, but we stop being predictable." "Can be unpredictable," Cole said, a small, mischievous smile returning to his lips, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "I'm an expert at annoying people." "That you are," Watson muttered, though he moved to stand closer to them, his posture shifting from annoyed manager to protective guardian. Marcus looked at his small makeshift family. The office was quiet, the city of Asterra sprawling and dangerous outside, but for this moment the room felt like a fortress. He knew Benston was waiting for a mistake. He knew the path ahead would be fraught with traps, psychological games, and the looming threat of an enemy who preferred to break things rather than destroy them. But as Marcus squeezed Cole's hand, he knew one thing for certain: whatever game Benston was playing, he was playing it against the wrong man. Marcus didn't fight for territory anymore. He fought for the person who had taught him how to smile again. "Adrian," Marcus said, his eyes scanning the map again. "Reroute the shipments, and inform the team that from tonight we change the rotation. No one leaves the building alone, not even me." "Understood," Adrian nodded, stepping back into the shadows of the room. Cole leaned his head against Marcus's shoulder, the danger outside momentarily pushed to the periphery. "You're taking this seriously, aren't you?" "Taking you seriously," Marcus replied, his voice barely a murmur. "You're the only thing that matters, Cole, don't ever forget that." Room grew quiet, the weight of the coming storm settling over them, but for now they remained anchored to each other, a small, stubborn defiance against the encroaching darkness. Chapter 35. The Pattern of a Pulse. The days that followed were marked by a tense, artificial normalcy. Marcus operated with the precision of a master clockmaker. Every move was calculated to maintain the facade that Blackcrest was business as usual, while beneath the surface he was weaving an invisible net of protection around Cole. In the office, the staff had caught on. The whispers were softer, the glances more knowing. When Cole walked through the lobby, the receptionists would subtly adjust their monitors to watch him pass, their faces lit with conspiratorial grins. They saw the way Marcus held the door a second longer than necessary, the way his gaze tracked Cole's movement across a room as if he were scanning for threats, even in the middle of a mundane Tuesday. It was, in the eyes of the staff, the most romantic and terrifying thing they had ever witnessed. "Starring again," Cole remarked, sliding into the chair opposite Marcus's desk. It was late afternoon, the golden hour light streaking across the floorboards. Marcus looked up from his report, his expression uncharacteristically blank. "I'm not starring, I'm observing." "You're observing me eating a sandwich," Cole countered, taking a deliberate, messy bite of a tuna melt he'd borrowed from the cafeteria's secret stash. "Is there something on my face? Or is it just the fact that I'm the only one here who isn't terrified of your alpha gaze?" Marcus didn't smile, but the corner of his mouth twitched, a micro-expression that only Cole had the clearance to trigger. "I'm making sure you're safe, Cole. It's a habit." "It's an obsession," Cole teased, though he reached across the desk, placing his hand over the document Marcus was reviewing. "Benston isn't going to strike while you're looking this hard. He's waiting for you to blink. You need to breathe." Marcus sighed, the sound escaping him as a rare, weary exhale. He pushed his chair back and stood, walking around the desk to stand behind Cole. He placed his hands on Cole's shoulders, his touch light, grounding. Through the fabric of Cole's shirt, he could feel the steady, rhythmic beat of a heart that was entirely unburdened by the secrets of the underworld. "I don't like the way he watches you," Marcus said, his voice dropping to a low, gravelly vibration that resonated against Cole's neck. "The pictures. The roots, he thinks he's mapping out a weakness, but he doesn't understand that you aren't a variable in an equation. You're the reason I bother with the equation at all." Cole went still. He rarely heard Marcus speak with such raw, unvarnished vulnerability. He turned in the chair to look up at him, the sarcasm fading into something softer, more earnest. I'm not a weakness, Marcus, I'm the person who keeps you grounded. There's a difference. Before Marcus could respond, the office door clicked open. Watson entered, looking frazzled, carrying a thick binder of financial projections. He stopped dead when he saw their proximity, his eyes widening in a mix of professional disapproval and a very specific paternal brand of exasperation. I apologize if I'm interrupting an intimate moment of existential philosophy, Watson said, his tone dripping with dry humor. But the accounts for the East Side imports need an authorization, and I refuse to let the syndicate go bankrupt just because the boss is busy being romantic. Bring them here, Watson, Marcus said, not moving away from Cole. Watson marched over, dropping the binder onto the desk with a heavy thud asterisk. He glared at Marcus, then softened his gaze as he looked at Cole, reaching out to pat the younger man's shoulder with a touch that was surprisingly gentle. Eat your lunch, kid. You look thin. Is he feeding you properly or is he just staring at you? He's been starring, Cole laughed. I'll fix it, Watson grumbled, shooting Marcus a look that clearly communicated, I am watching you, Watson, Marcus said, his voice level. Check the perimeter reports from last night. Adrian mentioned a vehicle lingering near the west entrance. I want a full sweep of the security footage. Watson's face hardened instantly, the humor vanishing. I'm already on it, Marcus. They aren't getting anywhere near the inner circle. As Watson exited, the room fell into a heavy, thoughtful silence. Marcus looked down at Cole, his eyes searching. He's right, I haven't been letting you eat properly. You've been too busy running errands for me. I like running errands for you, Cole insisted. It gives me an excuse to see you. Marcus leaned down, resting his forehead against Cole. The contact was brief, a silent acknowledgement of the danger that danced on the edges of their lives. From tomorrow, you stop coming to the office during the night shifts. You stay home, I'll come to you. That sounds like a lockdown, Cole murmured, though he didn't pull away. It's a precaution, Marcus countered. Fine, Cole agreed, his voice a whisper. But only if you promise to bring me something other than office coffee, and if you're late, I'm changing the locks. Marcus let out a quiet, genuine laugh, the tension in the room finally dissipating. It was a fragile, fleeting moment of domestic bliss in the heart of the storm. But as he looked at Cole, Marcus felt a surge of resolve. He would build this family, he would protect this peace, and he would ensure that no matter how hard Benston tried to pull the threads of his life apart, the center would hold. He just didn't realize how soon the first real crack in that armor would appear. How are you feeling about the packing of the tension between Marcus and Benston so far?